Hey, gossip aficionados. Welcome back to the juiciest corner of the internet, where we dive into the most scandalous stories of your favorite public figures. Today, we are spilling the tea on Ice Spice, the rapper whose antics have made waves for all the wrong reasons. Brace yourselves, because we are about to dive into three of her biggest scandals from the perspective of a right-wing Christian conservative who thinks her music and everything she does is downright degenerate. First up, let's talk about Ice Spice's explicit lyrics. Her music is filled with profanity, sexual innuendos, and themes that many conservative listeners find deeply offensive. Her songs promote a lifestyle that's completely at odds with traditional values, glorifying promiscuity, materialism, and a lack of moral restraint. It's no wonder that many parents are up in arms, worrying about the influence she might have on their children. For those of us who value modesty and decency, Ice Spice's lyrics are nothing short of a cultural abomination. Every song is a new low, pushing the boundaries of what should be acceptable in mainstream music. It's not just about the shock value, it's about the erosion of societal norms and the blatant disregard for the impact her words can have on young, impressionable minds. It's hard to fathom why anyone would support an artist who so flagrantly disrespects the values that keep our society from falling apart. What makes it even worse is how Ice Spice revels in the controversy. She knows her lyrics are provocative and offensive, but instead of showing any remorse, she doubles down. It's as if she's on a mission to corrupt as many minds as possible, pushing her degenerate agenda with every new release. This isn't artistry, it's a deliberate assault on the moral fabric of our society. And while she laughs all the way to the bank, the rest of us are left to pick up the pieces. It's not just the explicit content that's troubling, it's the attitude behind it. Ice Spice seems to take pride in her ability to shock and offend, as if that's some kind of badge of honor. But for those of us who believe in uplifting and positive messages, her music is a toxic influence that needs to be called out for what it is: a celebration of everything that's wrong with modern culture. We need artists who inspire, not those who degrade and devalue the human experience. In the end, the explicit lyrics controversy isn't just about bad words in a song. It's about a broader cultural shift that Ice Spice represents, one that prioritizes shock over substance and debauchery over decency. We have to stand firm against this tide of filth and demand better from our entertainers. Our kids deserve role models who lift them up, not ones who drag them down. Next on our list is the infamous twerking fiasco. Ice Spice has made headlines time and time again for her risque dance moves, particularly her penchant for twerking in public performances and music videos. For a right-wing Christian conservative, this is the epitome of moral decay. Her performances are not just suggestive, they are downright obscene, designed to provoke and titillate rather than entertain. Watching Ice Spice perform is like witnessing a train wreck in slow motion. Her twerking is not just an eyesore, it's a deliberate act of defiance against traditional values. She knows exactly what she's doing and who she's offending, and she doesn't care. In fact, she thrives on the outrage, using it to fuel her popularity. This kind of behavior is exactly what we don't need more of in our society. It's a clear signal that she's more interested in shock value than in being a responsible artist. The impact of her actions goes beyond just her performances. Young fans look up to her and imitate her moves, thinking that this kind of behavior is not only acceptable but desirable. It's a slippery slope, leading to a generation that sees nothing wrong with flaunting their bodies and ignoring basic decency. Ice Spice's twerking isn't just about dancing, it's about pushing the boundaries of what's considered acceptable in public. And it's a boundary that needs to be firmly maintained. What's truly disappointing is how the media and entertainment industry have embraced and even celebrated her twerking. Instead of calling it out for the vulgarity it is, they promote it as empowering and liberating. But for those of us who value modesty and self-respect, there's nothing empowering about degrading oneself for attention. Ice Spice is sending the wrong message to young women, suggesting that their worth is tied to how provocatively they can dance. In the grand scheme of things, the twerking fiasco is a symptom of a much larger problem. It's about a culture that has lost its way, that celebrates the lowest common denominator rather than striving for something better. We need to reclaim our values and reject the idea that shock and vulgarity are substitutes for talent and artistry. Ice Spice's antics are a wake-up call that we need to heed before it's too late. Now, let's dive into Ice Spice's infamous social media meltdown. This scandal erupted when she decided to engage in a heated exchange with a fan who criticized her music. Instead of taking the high road, Ice Spice went on a tirade, spewing insults and derogatory comments. This meltdown was a clear display of her inability to handle criticism maturely, showcasing a side of her that many fans found deeply disappointing. The meltdown began innocently enough, with a fan tweeting a less than flattering review of her latest single. Instead of ignoring it or responding with grace, Ice Spice chose to escalate the situation. Her replies were filled with profanity and personal attacks, painting a picture of someone who is far too reactive and thin-skinned for the public eye. This behavior not only alienated her fan base, but also attracted widespread media attention for all the wrong reasons. What made the situation worse was how she doubled down on her comments instead of apologizing. Even as backlash grew, Ice Spice continued to dig her heels in, showing a stunning lack of self-awareness. It's one thing to defend your art, it's another to lash out irrationally at those who don't agree with you. This incident highlighted her immaturity and inability to cope with the pressures of fame, raising serious questions about her suitability as a public figure. Lastly, let's delve into Ice Spice's numerous feuds and fights. She has a knack for stirring up drama with fellow artists and celebrities, often resorting to public spats on social media. These feuds are not just petty squabbles, they are spectacles of immaturity and unprofessionalism that do nothing but tarnish her reputation and contribute to a toxic culture of conflict and animosity. One of the most notable feuds was with another female rapper, where Ice Spice's comments were not only uncalled for but downright vicious. Instead of focusing on her music and career, she seems to relish the attention that comes from stirring the pot. This kind of behavior is unbecoming of anyone, let alone someone who has a platform and influence. It sets a terrible example for her fans, showing them that it's okay to engage in public mudslinging and character assassination. Ice Spice's penchant for drama extends beyond just other artists. She's also been known to clash with critics and even her own fans. Her thin skin and quick temper are a recipe for disaster in an industry that requires a thick skin and professionalism. Instead of rising above the fray and letting her work speak for itself, she engages in petty fights that only serve to highlight her insecurities and lack of maturity. What's particularly troubling is how these feuds often escalate into outright nastiness, with both sides hurling insults and accusations. This kind of behavior is toxic and counterproductive, contributing to a culture of negativity and hostility. As a right-wing Christian conservative, it's disheartening to see someone with so much potential squander it on pointless battles. We need artists who can rise above the drama and focus on creating meaningful, uplifting work. In conclusion, Ice Spice's numerous feuds and fights are a glaring example of her inability to conduct herself with grace and dignity. Her constant need for conflict is a distraction from her music and a detriment to her career. It's time for her to grow up and realize that true success comes from hard work and talent, not from stirring up controversy and engaging in petty fights. We deserve better role models, and it's clear that Ice Spice falls far short of the mark. I hope you liked this video. If you did, make sure to subscribe as I will continue posting only the best celebrity and K-pop content. This was Watch Wave, and until next time, have a good one.